So out of everything that the MMA Guru could possibly go viral for, with all of the different things that he says in his videos, all of the potential viral clips that come out of streams, the one thing that got a ton of attention was him talking about American wrestlers, to the point where Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen actually spoke on what he had to say, and we're going to be taking a look at this today. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. I'm very, very interested to watch this because the only reason that I've known about this is because everybody's already talking about it. I haven't seen this reaction. I know the Guru already made a video on it, and I know there's a bunch of other channels talking about it and have broke it down today. I am very excited for this. Now, the only other important thing to note is we're going to go full screen over here. It's a little bit tough for my camera placement over here, so I don't know what's going to end up being right. Perhaps I'll have to like switch between the two as they're speaking. I'll do my best, but forgive me, okay? Let's get into what these two had to say.
MMA Guru is, but okay. She said, MMA Guru said, not trusting Chael or DC. He called both of us out. And he said, I'm not trusting USA Wrestling credentials anymore.
And the reason that he said that was because you have these two always hyping up these wrestlers, right?
I've been gaslit for years by the likes of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen about these monsters that wrestle. To MMA Guru, what do you have to say?
And you know what's super cool, by the way, is the fact that somebody like the Guru is being actually talked about on a podcast with guys like Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen. I find it ridiculously cool that this is actually taking place, but I'm interested to see what they had to say.
Well, Daniel, to a degree, I've been surprised myself. I mean, in all fairness, back from 1993.
Hang on, Daniel already had a big reaction to that. Did you see his eyes? He's already going to I think he's going to disagree with this.
There's been major dominance in wrestling. Mark Kerr with a purple belt went into Abu Dhabi and ran through that division so easily, they banned Mark Kerr and banned other of our top guys from entering. We went without representation at Abu Dhabi for over 10 years, and they even changed the process to qualifiers and other things just to exclude a wrestler from walking in with no experience.
And they're having problems. And this is the problem. It's another thing that the MMA Guru ended up talking about was you seem to have some of these guys that are flat out just athletic beating these incredibly accomplished wrestlers. Who's one of the most accomplished wrestlers that we've seen right now? Bo Nickel. What's he done in the UFC? Everybody's just waiting for him to get fraud checked. And I know he might be a special case, but this happens with a lot of people with huge wrestling backgrounds.
And dominating the field. In the UFC, right now, we do not have an NCAA wrestler in the heavyweight class. I did not just say an Olympian. I did not say a world medalist. I did not say an All-American. We do not have a heavyweight. When Stipe retired, that was the last of the heavyweights. Prior to that, there was a guy named Daniel Cormier. We do not have a single NCAA wrestler, not just in the top 10 or top 15. We do not have one under contract with the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
But the problem is you have a lot. I don't care like if you get to that extent. You have all of these guys that are hyped up to being like these incredible, incredible wrestlers. All of these accomplishments, all of these practices. You have these guys even talking about like being like, just so dominant in their area, coming in, taking people down, and they seem to just get beat out by anybody like that's overseas or anybody that's athletic. And perhaps maybe we just actually need to get up, like we need to get the very top of the top wrestlers. But even then, I find myself a little bit inclined to agree with Guru on this.
So where have our wrestlers gone? David Taylor, there was some rumors that he was going to be coming out. David Taylor might be joining us for a couple of days on Tough, Daniel. But David Taylor took the job at Oklahoma State. Kyle Dake would be a great one to transfer over. Chance Marsteller.
But you have another issue with that, and you can just tell Daniel doesn't like that, eh? Daniel doesn't like that. He's just like completely not disagreeing with it, but he doesn't like that. I'm interested to see if Daniel's going to start crapping on what the Guru had to say, because I got my notification. I saw the Guru made a like 50-minute video on the topic. I don't know where this is going to go.
Jordan Burroughs, but the truth is, whether they be great or not, they're not doing it. Anthony Kazar, who beat Gable Steveson, had 2 matches and he retired.
So what Chael's saying is these guys are just straight up sticking to wrestling. They're not transitioning over to MMA, and the people that we are getting over in MMA are not to the caliber not to the potential of the fighters that actually can come about.
For MMA Guru to call that out, I will tell you, it has been slow for me to learn this, but the fact that a wrestler used to come and do it, we just don't live in that game anymore.
This is one of the reasons why I really, really love Chael, is because he is an accomplished wrestler. He is a big fan of wrestlers. He's biased against a ton of wrestlers, but at the same time, He speaks, and when he speaks on this type of stuff, he's not biased at all. It's very refreshing to see somebody actually looking at this and analyzing it understandably. He actually thinks about it. He goes, you know what? The guru may have pointed something out. Like, I don't think there's any shame in that.
It is such a complete style now. It is not something where you can get through college and then start picking up some boxing lessons on the side and you're good enough for the octagon. That was true at one point.
Yeah, and now the competition level has changed. The competition is no longer near what it used to be.
But if Guru is just arguing that these hard, gritty, tough wrestlers isn't enough, he wins this argument. I thought it was. But
Yeah, okay, look at Daniel's face, man. Look at the way Daniel just shook his head at that. Let me bring you, sorry, I'm going to start switching scenes over here.
wrestlers isn't enough. He wins this argument. I thought it was. But,
Ooh, I'm really, really hyped up to see what Daniel has to say about this.
but he does win this argument. Wrestling is not enough, not by itself.
He's right. Wrestling isn't enough. And when has it been enough? And like, since the UFC, the competition level has evolved. Since when has wrestling ever been enough? You have somebody like Hamza Chimaev, which is, it's not even American wrestling, right? That's the only example I can really think of.
He's wrong, Chael. He's wrong.
Go on.
Just because the best guys aren't coming anymore doesn't mean that wrestling doesn't work. Hell,
That's not what he's saying, though. He's not saying that wrestling doesn't work. He's saying that they're getting outworked.
we're still living in a world right now, Chael. We're living in a world right now where John Jones' background, wrestling. Sure, he was a junior college national champion, but he's a wrestler.
Yeah, cheat. A PED using cheat. And honestly, how often does he, like, he wrestles, but he doesn't come in like these wrestlers used to in the UFC.
At 155, Islam Makhachev's background is combat sambo.
That's not wrestling. I mean, like, unless you want to, like, if we're talking about them being the same thing, but MMA Guru is talking about specifically American wrestlers.
What else? Wrestling. Ilya Taporia. He's a wrestler. These guys are wrestlers. I mean, Marab Dawalishvili. What does Marab do? Wrestling.
I don't think that he's understanding the point, and I think he's kind of proving the point of MMA Guru. And I think that Daniel Cormier is a little bit insulted. And you know what? To some degree, I understand. I think that Daniel Cormier is insulted that somebody like the MMA Guru in his position, it doesn't have any, well, I mean, like, any fighting experience at, like, any amateur or pro level. To my knowledge, there's no amateur fights, is speaking on such a thing. But he's right, and Chael's right. But I think Daniel's missing the point.
I've listed you 4 of the 7 champions now. That their entire background. Hell, Bilal Muhammad, wrestler.
But Daniel, stay on this. Tell me why Tatiana Suarez, who has a world title, the highest ranking wrestler, couldn't take down a girl that's never had a wrestling match.
Oh, you know what? This is why I really love and respect Chael for this, because he's arguing against something that he's so for. You know, he just looks at this and goes, yeah, you know what? He may be right. Hang on, I love Daniel's faces, man. he's so memeable, but he's right. Look what just happened with Zhang Wei Li and Tatiana Suarez. Everybody talking about the credentials of Tatiana Suarez. How many of us looked at that fight and go, I don't care, Wei Li's gonna smash her? Her wrestling credentials, her American wrestling credentials mean nothing at this point. We need somebody to come in and prove otherwise. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Wei Li's never even had a match.
So the Hickman brothers out in Muay Thai Bangtao, those guys are really good coaches. And they taught Wei Li how to wrestle offensively. That's the key, Chael. I had a crazy argument with Michael Bisping about this the other day.
But the thing is, he's still dodging the point of what the MMA Guru is saying. He's not talking about, like, learning American wrestling or anything. He's talking about, like, people coming in with all of these credentials. It's not working anymore.
I believe that if you want to wrestle effectively in the octagon, and I did this at AK, you got to learn to actually wrestle. Chael, you know what I would do with those guys when I was coaching the wrestling there? We would do top and bottom. I'd have Khabib riding. Like, I'd make Khabib get on top of somebody in the referee's position. Because if you can learn to wrestle and you can learn to ride and you can learn to take down people offensively, you learn to take them down defensively, you learn all those little details in the middle that you don't get when you go, I'm starting MMA, I want to make sure I know how to defend takedowns.
I understand what he's saying, but what's that have to do with the argument? It doesn't have anything to do with the argument. He's completely dodging the point. Either that or he doesn't understand the point. But I know Daniel's a smart guy. Like, I think that he's actually just arguing from a place of emotion a little bit.
It doesn't work like that. You got to know how to do it all. Zhang Wei Li does. Zhang Wei Li's learning wrestling, not just mixed martial arts wrestling. So,
and she's not American.
Yes. it does feel like it's not as deep with wrestlers because at a time, 205 had myself, Phil Davis, Ryan Bader, Rashad Evans, John Jones, Glover Teixeira. We had like so many wrestlers, you and Mark Munoz.
But the problem with that is MMA has evolved and more people from all over the world are coming into these divisions. The only thing that hasn't evolved and actually has devolved a little bit was the heavyweight division, to be honest. Like, and the light heavyweight, you can get into that conversation, but let's take it like more realistic. I would say 185 and below, where I would say the vast majority of fighters are. This applies exactly what the MMA Guru said. The light heavyweight division, I'd like to hear an argument whether or not like it's in a better state or if it's in a worse state, but the heavyweight division has absolutely regressed. So you can point to Daniel Cormier and his credentials and how good he's performed, but times have completely changed and he might have fought at a worse competition level.
Weidman, just so many wrestlers around the top at those heavier weight classes that now that there aren't as many, it seems like the guys aren't there. They're just not at the heavier weights anymore because those guys are making more money in wrestling, so they're sticking around a little longer. Some are playing football like Stephen Neal did. So there are just like these great wrestlers that aren't coming to fighting as frequently as they used to. But I think MMA...
Now, for that specifically, I don't know if that's true at all. If anybody could point that out in the comments, I'd appreciate it because that I truthfully have no knowledge about if people are staying away. Like you talk about like the tallest guys in the UFC, they are the people who can come into the UFC, they choose to play basketball, things like that. So that's a possibility.
Guru's wrong. Sure.
No, but he's not wrong. You just completely dodged everything that his entire point.
Tiana struggled. But again, she wasn't. There was some simple things that she could have done to change what was happening. She kept shooting double legs. You cannot shoot double legs anymore. You got to shoot double legs to switch off to a single leg if you want to take people down.
But why? Because the game has evolved, perhaps past to wrestling.
Everybody knows how to defend a double now. It's what you learn the first day you walk into an MMA gym.
And again, proving the Guru's point. It doesn't mean nearly as much. Like if someone comes in and just says this is a huge accomplished wrestler, a lot of times they will look like Suarez, and a lot of times people mix it in well. It's just you can't trust it as someone's going to come in and be this kind of world beater.
You got to mix things up, and she didn't really mix things up, and that's why Wei Lee found so much success defending those takedowns. All right, wrestling.
So they continue on. Can't trust USA wrestling. Okay, I don't know if they're going to continue on. Let's hear it out.
Get too much into this because now if this guy comes over, Chael, we will have a heavyweight wrestler. Not only will we have a heavyweight
okay, so they're going to start talking about somebody specifically, so that's kind of the end of that clip there. Very, very interesting, and I think it really says something. I think it's awesome that guys like the MMA Guru and more YouTubers in general are starting to kind of like make their way into the involvement of the MMA space, so I think this is a good thing no matter what. Chael was on the money. Daniel Cormier either just was arguing in bad faith, and this is coming from a DC fan. This is coming from a DC fan. He may have been insulted. He may have not understood the entire point that the MMA Guru is making, but I would imagine it's more on the side of I'm going to defend the wrestler, and it says something about himself too, like at the end of the day. I really, really think this is cool that this ended up going on good guy versus bad guy, but the conversation doesn't have to end there because we recently also reacted to something that Chael Sonnen ended up making a video about, and it's more so about Conor McGregor and his mental state. If that's the case and you want to watch it, you can check out this video right here. I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care.